KXXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2, Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. That means we're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Thanks for hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Lots to do to kick off the week here on the Hunt Palmer Show. LSU basketball loses on Saturday. We're talking about it. Talk to Dr. Jeremy Burnham a little bit later with our Oxter segment, talking some injuries as well as a conference that Dr. Burnham just went to, so we'll check in with him at the end of this hour. Wilson Alexander from The Advocate will join us in 1 hour at 2 o'clock. Wilson's got a great piece up at The Advocate right now talking about LSU's plans entering the new world of NIL with the revenue sharing and the clearinghouse and how LSU's prepared to kind of break through that barrier. I think it's an interesting piece, and I want to talk to Wilson about that at 2 o'clock, so we will do that. Saints have made a couple more coaching hires since we left you, and so tons and tons to do here on this Monday. We'll start today the same way we do every single day. That's with our Genesis Opening Drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Start with baseball. LSU in Omaha over the weekend. Tigers win back on Friday. It was a really strong effort early from Cade Anderson. A phenomenal job by the LSU bullpen, and LSU wins a 4-2 game. First game on Saturday was really, really boring, and then really, really interesting, and then really, really disappointing as LSU was no hit for 7 innings. Fell behind 5-0, and then brought the winning run to the plate in the 9th inning. They ended up putting 4 on the scoreboard, but couldn't quite get that last swing, so they lose the first game of the doubleheader on Saturday, second game of the series, and LSU came back and responded on Saturday evening with an emphatic win over Omaha, 12-1. The Omaha squad kind of ran out of arms there, which they didn't really bring a lot of arms in to begin with. LSU just did not do a very good job offensively, and that's where I want to start talking about this series, is that there was a period of 10 innings. 3 innings to end the game on Friday, and then 7 innings to start the first game on Saturday, where LSU simply did not swing the bats at all. Over that point, 10 innings. LSU got 2 hits. One of them was an infield single and did not score a run. So it was really, really dismal offensively for more than one ball game's worth of at-bats. And there's layers to that. One layer is it's cold and windy out there. It's not a lot of fun to hit. We get it. But that's something everybody's dealing with across the country right now, and LSU did not handle that well for a stretch. They were popping up. I don't have another way to say it. In the second game of the series, LSU hit 17 fly ball outs on a cold and windy day. And they weren't like line drives that got run down in the gap. We're talking about a lot of just infield and routine, shallow outfield pop-ups that LSU was hitting. I don't think they were intentionally trying to lift the baseball. They just weren't squaring it up. And Jay Johnson tinkered with a few things. After a tough Friday, Chris Stanfield got the first game off, I should say, on Saturday. LSU tried Daniel Dickinson in the leadoff spot in that game. He drew a couple of walks and scored a run. He also had a big double in LSU's 9th inning in that game. And then in the evening game, after Tanner Reeves got a hit in the 9th inning to lead things off in that rally in the first game of the doubleheader, he earned a start. In the second game, he walked a couple times in that game, scored a couple runs out of the leadoff spot. So you saw some shakeups there. You saw Ethan Fry in the DH spot against a right-handed pitcher for the first time, which was a little bit of a shakeup. When Stanfield came out of the lineup, you saw an outfield that had Ashton Larson, Derek Curiel, and Jake Brown, all left-handed hitters, all very good athletes out there. So there were some things that were being shaken up, but ultimately LSU just didn't swing the bat well enough for a large portion of the weekend. And that's something that I'm hopeful LSU, you're never immune to that in a baseball season. I'm hopeful LSU doesn't do that very often because I feel like it's a pretty balanced lineup across the board. Jay Johnson has said multiple times that he feels like last year at a certain point, it kind of felt like if LSU was going to score 2 or 3 runs in an inning, it was going to have to be Tommy White or Jared Jones hitting a 2 or 3 run home run. He doesn't think that's going to be the case with this team because you feel like you've got a lot of guys who should be able to hit doubles, to hit home runs, to hit for a reasonably high average, to post a high on-base percentage, and you're not going to be as reliant on the top-heavy nature of a lineup. So that didn't necessarily pan out at the end of the game on Friday and in the first game on Saturday. Now, they broke out of it, and they did a good job offensively in the last game, and that's to be expected. You're not going to be held down by Omaha for very long, but it's jarring when you go through that long a stretch of inept offense against a team that could not get Tulane out last week. Tulane scored double digits in all 3 games they played Omaha in the opening weekend. And all of a sudden, you got an Omaha team that's kind of shutting LSU down. And it was a weird deal in that second game. I've never seen a line score like I saw from Ben Weber on Saturday. He was Omaha's starting pitcher in the first game of the doubleheader. He went 3 2/3 innings. He did not give up a hit. He did not give up a run. He did not strike anyone out, and he walked 6 Tigers, plus hit 1. He threw 76 pitches in the game, and only 36 were strikes, 40 were balls. He could not find the strike zone at all. He was behind in counts constantly. He was walking guys constantly, and LSU could not square him up. And you can use the term effectively wild, but it was just bizarre to sit there and watch a guy throw 87-mile-an-hour fastballs that most of the time miss the strike zone, and LSU simply could not square one up. It was weird. And then they went to Luke Gaynor, who's a left-handed slider specialist, and LSU struggled a little bit with that. And they went to Oliver Maybe, who I mentioned on the broadcast that felt like an Abbott and Costello routine to have a Maybe out there as the pitcher. But LSU finally got to him a little bit and started to turn that rally over in the 9th inning. And then they went to Dreher, and Dreher finally got Milam to pop out. The one thing I want to point out in this game, because I've talked about how LSU didn't swing the bats well, I've talked about the pop-ups, I've talked about being no-hit, I've talked about all those things, but there was one aspect offensively on Saturday in that first game that I want to make sure that I highlight in this segment. The base running play that Derek Curiel made in the 9th inning of that game was high-level stuff. High-level stuff for a freshman or for a junior. You're talking about a situation where, no, the stadium's not full because LSU was getting no hit and it was cold outside. But there was a little juice in the building because LSU had put up 4 runs and had gotten the winning run to first base and had created a situation where they may have come back from a 5-run deficit in the 9th inning. And you've got 1 out, and you've got Ashton Larson at the plate, and Derek Curiel gets an aggressive secondary lead, and he reads that the ball is going to be down and that it could get away. And immediately, and the ball did not get that far away from the Omaha catcher. Cardell Dick's in there, and the ball just trickles away to his right, and Curiel bolts. And he does so much fundamentally right in this play. He gets the good secondary lead. He reads the down angle. He bolts for third base. And then when he gets to third base, he slides with his inside hand, his left hand, to the outside of the third base bag. And he beats the throw by inches. And even if he would have been thrown out, and I said this on the broadcast too, even if he would have been thrown out, it was the right play to make because getting to third base with less than 2 outs is a huge advantage for LSU when you're the tying run. And he got there. Now, Larson struck out on the next pitch, was a slider, good pitch from Gaynor, and he came up empty. It's not a good at bat. You need to put that ball in play and drive that run in. But what Curiel did to make LSU into an advantageous situation where they can get that run home without the benefit of a hit was a huge heads-up play. And Jay Johnson has said many times when talking about Curiel that, hey, this kid is maybe the smartest player we have. And there are probably a lot of guys who are on that LSU team that are older players that would not have taken that aggressive gamble at that point in the game. And Curiel did it, and I thought it was awesome, awesome, awesome base running. Didn't pay off, but it's not always going to work. But it was a winning play in a losing effort, if that makes sense. So that's it for the LSU offense. I thought that Curiel had a really, really good weekend in total. He had 2 hits in the first game. He drew a couple of walks in the second game, and he had 2 more hits in the third game. So that's 4 hits and 3 walks in 3 games. He's been fantastic there. He's right there in front of Jared Jones, which I think is a great spot for him. One of the questions that I have about tonight's game with Nicholls is what Jay Johnson does in the leadoff spot. Do you put Stanfield back in the leadoff spot? He gave him one game off, and then he came back in the late game and put him down there in the bottom of the lineup, and Stanfield did get a hit, scored a run, drove a run in. Do you put him back in there? Do you go with Dickinson? Do you feel like you got enough from Tanner Reeves if you're facing a right-hander? Like, the spot, whoever hits in that leadoff spot in front of Curiel and Jones has to produce. And Stanfield's done a pretty good job. Like, his on-base percentage has been pretty good to this point. It's early in the season. I wrote his on-base percentage in the Around the Horn that I wrote up there at LouisianaSports.net. But he's done a good job. I like him there, but I want to see if Jay Johnson's considering other options because, again, whoever's in front of Curiel and Jones needs to produce, needs to get on base, needs to create some havoc, needs to get pitchers into the stretch. That's a key spot in LSU's lineup, and I'm curious to see what he does with it tonight. But they had 3 different leadoff hitters over the weekend. I thought that was basically it from an offensive perspective. Not a ton to write home about in a weekend where you scored 4 in the first game against Omaha, 4 in the second game, and then put it on the back end of their bullpen. That's not a ton of talking points worth of offense there. I do think there were a ton of talking points when we talk about pitching. So we'll go ahead and do that when we come back. That's our Genesis opening drive here on this Monday. Back talking pitching next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If you've got a bathtub in your home that you don't use, take it out. Might be old, might not be functional, might be dingy. Take it out. Put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. David Duvall and his team do that kind of thing all the time. It can be quick. It's cost-effective. It changes the aesthetic of your bathroom, changes the functionality of your bathroom, adds value to your home. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com, and see some of the pictures of the great work David and his team have done. He will handle it from soup to nuts, as he says. Everything that goes on it's one phone call to One Bath and Closets. David Duvall and his team are awesome, awesome, awesome to work with. So go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. Start that process with a free consultation today. It's One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com.
Need service now? Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you same-day appointments for service, and we offer pickup and delivery of your vehicle from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. If you need sales and service, the crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Need service now? Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you same-day appointments for service, and we offer pickup and delivery of your vehicle from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. If you need sales and service, the crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so...
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
All right, talking a little baseball here. Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Just talked pitching, and we just talked hitting. I want to talk pitching because you look at this weekend in total for LSU, and the same thing applies to hitting as it does to pitching. Like, it was a good weekend to pitch. Wind was blowing in. It was chilly, kind of uncomfortable. Like, it's a good weekend to pitch. So you keep that in mind, but I still watched every pitch that LSU threw this weekend, and you take away 3 pitches, 3. It was brilliant effort by LSU on the mound over 3 games. On Saturday, the first game of the doubleheader, the game LSU lost, Grant Fontenot came in and hit the first 2 guys, the only 2 guys he faced. Well, those are 2 bad pitches. One was on an 0-2 pitch. They looked at it for a long time, ruled it, hit it. Those are 2 bad pitches. And then Connor Benj, a little later in the inning, got ambushed on a 95-mile-an-hour fastball that was kind of up and in, and kid ran out of the ballpark for a home run. But those 3 pitches, you take those out, it was a phenomenal weekend for LSU pitching to baseball. LSU got 8 zeros in all 3 games. Omaha only scored in 1 inning per game. On Friday, Omaha scored 2 in the 6th. That was all they got. On Saturday in game 1, they got 5 in the 7th. That's all they got. And then in the final game, they got 1 run in the 8th. That's all they got. So you hung 24 zeros over the weekend. I think that's a very positive thing. Now, Cade Anderson was brilliant for 5 innings on Friday. And it was a different look than we had seen from him in his first outing. First outing, a lot of fastballs, a lot of sliders. Great. A lot of fastballs, a lot of sliders. In week 2, we saw him go to the changeup. And he was great with it to right-handed hitters. It fades away from the right-hander. It's going to make that 94-mile-an-hour fastball play up a little bit. And I asked Cade after the game on Friday, like, hey, did you throw a lot of changeups in the first week? He said, no, didn't. It felt good today. And it looked, that's a game changer for him. So the issue for Anderson, because he did run into trouble there in the 6th inning, he gave up a couple walks and a couple hits and ended up giving way to Connor Benj, who did a great job. But Anderson it's not been a stuff deal the last 2 weeks. It's been a stamina deal. He lost a couple miles per hour on the fastball on opening day, and then he lost his command in week 2. And that's to be expected. You've been working in 2 and 3 inning stretches in the preseason. Now you're being asked to throw 5, 6, 7 innings, and stamina is something they're going to have to build towards. But he showed the repertoire and just how dominant he could be on Friday. I loved Cade Anderson's outing. And he gave way to Benj, who did a great job. Came in, inherited the bases loaded, and only allowed he got 2 of those scored, but he got out of the trouble. And then they handed the ball to Maverick Rizzi and Kason Evans, who flat dominated. Rizzi struck out 1 in his inning, gave up a bloop hit to lead off, but then he got the next 3 guys out. And then Evans they couldn't hit him. 2 innings, 5 strikeouts. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. He was throwing 97 in the cold. He threw that changeup, which was nasty. We've seen the breaking ball as well. Right now, LSU doesn't have a closer. They're just trying to get everybody innings. And we talked about Connor Ware a ton in the preseason for good reason. I'm not sure right now if you went to a 9th inning against Tennessee tomorrow and you had to win the game and you had to send one pitcher out there to get 3 outs, I'm not sure I wouldn't send Case and Evans out there. That may be hyperbolic, being that he's had 2 outings against Purdue, Fort Wayne, and Omaha, but it looks good to me. I mean, he throws hard. He throws strikes. He has 2 off-speed pitches. That kid is nasty, and you're going to see a lot of him moving forward. In Game 2 of the series, Anthony Ianson got the start. I thought he looked great. He got up to 93 pitches. He threw 6 shutout innings, only allowed 3 hits, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks. One of the things I liked about his outing was he got 2 different called strike threes with a 4-seam fastball. That tells me he's mixing his pitches effectively enough that the hitter is just guessing and not really sure what could be coming next. And to take those 2 heaters that were pretty much right down Broadway because you're kind of mentally manhandled and don't know what's next, that's the sign of a guy who's got a team off balance. And I thought that Ianson did that in his outing. Mentioned Fontenot, didn't have it. Hit 2 guys. Then Connor Benj comes in, and this was the first time all year anyone has gone on a back-to-back. And they asked Benj to come back after on Friday he threw 7 pitches. He came back the next day to try to get out of a jam, and he got hit. So that's a data point. You look at that, and I think Benj is a guy they definitely want to come into dirty innings and clean it up. But he did not do well in the second of a back-to-back this first time. They'll probably try to get that done again, maybe this coming weekend, maybe the following weekend, to try to get a successful back-to-back day out of him before league play starts with Missouri. But it didn't go as well in the first go-round. Cooper Williams did take the ball in the 8th and 9th and threw 2 perfect innings. Had a strikeout. The strikeout was on a gorgeous big bender of a breaking ball that split the plate. He has been perfect in through 3 innings so far. He's faced 9 hitters. He's gotten 9 out. He's got 4 strikeouts. These freshman pitchers have been really, really impressive early on in their careers. Then I really liked what I saw from Chase Shores on Saturday night. Shores got that pitch count up from 67 in week 1 all the way up to 84 on Saturday. He did not allow a run. He only allowed 3 hits, struck out 6, walked 2. The fastball was firm. It was up over 95 miles an hour in the cold. So I thought that Shores really took a nice step forward as far as building that pitch count up and still looked to be dominant. I don't know if Cade Anderson's going to be the ace start to finish. I sure hope so. I don't know if Anthony Ianson is going to be able to churn through SEC lineups like he did lineups out west last year. I hope so. We'll see. I just can't get Chase Shores in the game 3 spot out of my head. I just like that matchup for LSU so much. And it doesn't mean, like, the outing against Omaha is not consequential. But it just, knowing what I know about the SEC, knowing how those Sunday games going, knowing what type of arm you usually see on Sundays, for LSU to have Chase Shores in that slot, throwing 98 with that slider, like, that's a stuff advantage for LSU. And all 30 of those league games count the same. And if you can give yourself a distinct advantage on Sunday, I would take that. And it feels like that's kind of where things are headed with him. I like Zach Cowan's 2 innings of work. They were perfect. He struck out 3. He's a guy that can definitely stretch out. This was a 2-inning outing. He can definitely give you 4 or 5. He was a Friday night starter last year. So I liked what I saw from him. Jacob Myers did what Jacob Myers does. He pitched 1 inning. He walked 2 guys. He struck 2 guys out. So that's just kind of what Jacob Myers is at this point, and that's probably what he's going to be. I don't know that I fully trust him in a high-leverage spot, but he's certainly got enough stuff to get teams out in a given spot. And in that spot right there, when LSU's got a 5 to 8 run lead, I'm fine with Myers taking the baseball. DJ Primo was able to come in and throw 4 pitches and get it out, and then they let Jaden Newt come in and finish the game off. But to me, Anderson showing the changeup was huge. Ianson keeping guys off balance was huge. Shores expanding that pitch count up north of 80 was huge. I think the freshmen have been superstars. Rizzi, Williams and Evans. I think William Schmidt certainly looked great in his first outing. We'll probably see him again today. But I feel like LSU's pitching is legitimate. I don't know about the offense right now. I think it's fair to question that talent level and productivity level in SEC play. We just don't know. There's not enough proven commodities in that lineup for us to really know. Like Stanfield's a 280 SEC hitter. I think Curiel's going to be a star. Jones is a proven star. Larson did it last year, but Dickinson's never done it here. Milam was a solid player last year. Braswell's not going to be a star for you. Brown didn't hit in the SEC. We'll see if he does. Luis Hernandez did have 3 doubles over the weekend. That was nice to see from him. But like you don't have. It's not like 2023 where you came in and you're like, okay, I know Cruz is a star. I know that Morgan's a star. I know that White's a star. You feel like Beloso and Dugas and those guys are proven SEC commodities. Jordan Thompson's a proven SEC commodity. Josh Pearson had hit the year before that. I feel like there were more proven commodities entering that season. You don't necessarily have that with this team. I believe the sum of these parts is going to be good offensively. We'll see. I believe more in LSU's pitching. I think the stuff is good. I think the depth is good. I think there's a blend of righties and lefties. Again, I'd take Skeens if you let me, but I don't have Skeens, so I'm going to have to work with these guys. I think that LSU's pitching staff is legit, and I think they'll prove it this weekend against a little bit of a step up in competition. I'll talk about this on Friday, hopefully from Frisco. Jay Johnson said something on Friday evening that I noticed and that I agree with. And he kind of looked with a little bit of a wry grin, and he goes, I think Anderson's going to be pretty good next weekend. And you could tell from Cade Anderson in his postgame that he was ticked off that in the 6th inning he couldn't finish the deal. And he didn't want to talk about all the good stuff he did in the first 5 innings, which were dominant. He only wanted to talk about not being able to get enough strikeouts, get enough outs, not have to go to the bullpen. He was ticked. And I think that proves that he's made of the right stuff. I think he cares about the right stuff. I think he's motivated. And I think he's also obviously talented. And I think you're going to see a guy this week that's really focused and that's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I don't know if there was a chip on your shoulder going from week 1 to week 2 when you kind of dominate Purdue Fort Wayne. But they got him in the 6th inning and knocked him out of the game, and he didn't like that. And I think that you're going to see a guy on Friday against Kansas State that's not in a very good mood, and I think he's going to be really good. We'll see. That remains to be seen. But I noticed Anderson's demeanor. We asked Jay Johnson about Anderson, and Jay Johnson kind of I think he'll be pretty good on Friday. And I would tend to very much agree with that. So those are my thoughts on LSU and Omaha over the weekend. Tigers dropped their first game in the first game of the doubleheader on Saturday. Right now, sit at 6-1 overall. Didn't really ding them in the polls. D1 Baseball still got them at number 3. And
who was
Baseball
calling
America's
that game?
got it. I was calling the first game.
Okay.
I did. I said in the 7th inning when they didn't get a hit, I said, look, I may have to retire here. I may have given all I can give, but many people are saying that the rally late in the game saved my a brief broadcasting career.
Hopefully, for your
because
sake.
they did score 4 runs in the last inning. If they would have gotten no hit by Omaha, that'd be tough to come back.
Yeah, I don't think you're.
It's one of those you just don't.
You don't. I don't think you do.
You got to retire.
Yeah.
But they did get some hits. They scored 4 runs in the 9th. I was sitting there because I've done play-by-play like 3 or 4 times, and usually LSU wins by 1 million in these games. And I'm sitting there, and Jared Jones walks to the plate, bases loaded, 3-run game, and I'm going, he's going to hit a walk-off grand slam. I'm gonna call a walk-off grand slam here. It didn't happen. He hit a single to left. But I was thinking about it, and I don't think you're supposed to do that. I think you're supposed to kind of let it come to you. But look, I'm not exactly a pro in that perspective. I've called like 4 LSU baseball games in my life. So it didn't happen. They lost. I'll take it on the chin. I'm not going to retire. If they call me again to do another game, I'm going to go do it.
I would think so.
We almost didn't go on the air. Buzzy and I were a little bit ill-prepared on what buttons to push to turn the equipment on. It came on with about 20 seconds to spare, but we got it done. And I don't think anybody knew that until I just told you. But it was quite an adventure there in the press box, and I'm sure you and Cassie, who sit here and understand how completely inept I am in terms of all the technology in this room.
That's correct.
Would understand that I didn't know what was going on in that room either. Got Buzzy, trying to figure that out. Me trying to figure things out. Got Brain back in the studio. I'm FaceTiming Chris Blair. We got it done. Game went off without a hitch. We just didn't win. So I'll be back one day. Maybe next year. Maybe 2 years. Maybe next week. Won't be next week. That's in Round Rock or Frisco. But I'll be back. Let's talk some basketball next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website for all of your commercial insurance needs. Contact the Highland Insurance Group. They pride themselves on their technical knowledge of insurance. A lot of people in the insurance game try to win on price, try to convince you that they can save you money here or there, and that may be the case, and the Highland Insurance Group will actively look to do that as well. But in this insurance marketplace, if you're a business owner, you know that's really tough these days. What you can control is the coverages. And that's where the Highland Insurance Group excels. If you run a business and you're not exactly sure how your insurance program is going to respond in the event of a cyber attack, in the event of employment practices suit, in the event of a car accident that involves an uninsured motorist, if you don't really know how that all works, it's not really your job. It is the Highland Insurance Group's job, and they're happy to help you with it. Contact Jonathan Carver and his team here in Baton Rouge. Do phenomenal work. They're great to work with. And you can reach out to them at HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group right here in Baton Rouge. HighlandIG.com.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111, your law firm for a lifetime. At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Talk with Dr. Jeremy Burnham from Auctioner coming up here in the next segment. I want to talk to him about Ethan Fry playing all of last year with a torn labrum. That's something that I honestly don't remember knowing that during the season last year, that he was hurt that badly. And Davian Collins is fighting through some shoulder issues as well right now for LSU basketball. So we'll talk a little bit with Dr. Burnham about those injuries coming up here in about 10 minutes. LSU basketball on Saturday. If you just grab the box score, you would say, oh, this makes a lot of sense. Like, okay, Florida won by 14. They crushed LSU on the glass. LSU's playing small. Florida's big and physical. That makes sense. Yeah, Cam Carter didn't have a great day, so LSU's probably not going to be able to stay in it. Like there are a lot of things on the box score that make a lot of sense. But how you arrived at the final score of 79-65 was not necessarily very traditional. Florida came out and threw the first punch, and they took control of the game midway through the first half. You look up, and I guess, let me see where exactly that was. 7 minutes to go in the first half, and Florida's got a 14-point lead. So at that point, you're like, okay, they're better than LSU. They're going to come in here, just handle their business, and it'll look kind of like the Auburn game did a couple weeks ago. Sure. LSU then proceeds to outscore Florida 22-2 for the duration of the half. You got Curtis Givens knocking down a three. Robert Miller's throwing down a dunk in the middle of the lane. Then he steps back and hit a three-pointer. Jai Bailey splashed a three. Mike Williams hit a three right before the half. And LSU goes to the half on an absolute heater, up 6 on Florida. And then Florida whitewashed LSU in the second half. They came out and got a quick bucket. Then LSU actually scored a couple points to stretch their lead to 8. That was the biggest that LSU got. And then Florida proceeded to just hammer LSU from that point. And none of that should be a huge surprise. You look at the box score, as I mentioned, Florida really, really, really keyed on Cam Carter. And even when he got some looks late in the game, he couldn't make them. And LSU is simply not in position to overcome a 3 for 13 day from Cam Carter from the floor. He was 0 of 6 from three-point range. He turned the ball over 3 times. Like, he played a bad game. And guess what? Cam Carter is more than entitled to have a clunker. The guy has been carrying LSU for 3 months, and he just didn't play great. And if he doesn't play great, LSU has no chance. They have no chance against number 2 Florida. They have no chance against South Carolina if Cam Carter has a terrible night. And he did, but that's okay. LSU came out with that small lineup, and Florida out-rebounded LSU 48-33. You look at the second chance buckets, Florida grabbed 19 offensive rebounds and turned that into 17 second chance points. That was always going to be the problem. And Beck, we talked about Chenyolu on Friday and how I thought he would be a significant issue. He had 13 rebounds. 7 of them came on the offensive end of the floor. He blocked 2 shots. He scored 19 points. He only played 25 minutes. You extrapolate that out to like 33 minutes, you're talking about a guy who would have gone for 25 points and 16 rebounds. They had no chance against him.
Yeah, the first half kind of reminded me of the it's a different sport, but the LSU-Georgia football game in 2018 where Georgia just inexplicably kept throwing the ball instead of running it.
Yeah. And
LSU ended up winning that game by 20 points. LSU, the first half, Florida just kept chucking up shots. They weren't crashing the glass like we would expected them to. And they just missed all their shots, and LSU was making shots. And then you just knew in the second half, at halftime, Todd Golden was going to go in the locker room and say, hey, guys, we have a lot more size than them.
Yeah.
Get the ball down low, shoot the ball, rebound, and we are going to win. And that's exactly what happened. And I text you, too. I just don't understand. Like, I understand Matt McMahon. At this point, he's like, we got to try something different. And the 4-guard lineup worked for a couple of games against, lower-level teams. But in this game, how many minutes did Corey Chess play? Maybe 10? We didn't see a lot of him.
He played 10 minutes.
We didn't see a lot of Robert Williams. We saw a decent amount of Damian Collins, but it just didn't make sense to me because Chimulu and then Hall were just dominating the inside and we weren't seeing any of the bigger guys for LSU on the floor. and LSU had no chance of out trying to rebound these guys.
Yeah, I mean, Chess played 10 minutes. Damian Collins played 15. I don't know how healthy they are.
Yeah,
I have no
maybe
idea.
not.
Chess back is bothering him. Like there's one school of thought that says if you can play 10 minutes, you can play 22 minutes. If you can either not play or you can go play. And I don't know how Collins' shoulder feels either. Robert Miller did go out there and give him 25 minutes, and I thought he was sensational.
And he played well. He did.
He was 6 of 8 from the floor. He made a couple of threes. He got 10 rebounds. He's growing up, and that's a good thing to see. The problem is, and if this was 7 years ago, I would tell you how excited I was about how much action the freshmen are getting. Curtis Givens played 31 more minutes in this game without a turnover. Now, he's not making a lot of plays. He had 4 assists in this game, which is really good. He made 3 threes, but he didn't turn the ball over. They're clearly Curtis Givens and Robert Miller are getting better. I just have no idea if they're going to play for LSU next year.
Yeah.
So, and that is not because I've heard they're going to transfer. It would be foolish of me to suggest anyone was going to play for anybody next year. So I have no idea. LSU's retention rate has been good with the players that they want to keep around. So hopefully those guys are growing up and they'll be key pieces to the next team. But I just can't say that with any degree of certainty. What I can say is that Jordan Sears is not seeing nearly as many minutes. He played 10 minutes in the game back last week, and then he only played 9 minutes in the game on Saturday. They're going with the young guys, and that's just the decision that Matt McMahon has made. But Florida's just way better than LSU.
Yeah.
There are not that many teams in the country who could go on the road and withstand a 22-2 run and win the game by 14 points. And that's why I said this on Friday. I'll reiterate it today, and then we'll probably talk about it at the end of March. I think Florida is national championship good. I think their best is as good as anybody's in college basketball. I struggle to get there with Tennessee. I struggle to get there with Kentucky because I think they have some warts. But when you look at Auburn in this league and you look at Florida in this league, I think those two teams can absolutely win the whole thing. Bama is so hot, but they can get cold, and I don't think Texas A&M can score enough to get there. And those are kind of the top 10 teams that you've seen that have come from the SEC. But look, watching Florida as I have, I think they've got a lot of pieces. They've got elite level guard play. I think that Clayton's fantastic. He did have a great shooting night on Saturday, but he and Richard are veteran, and they're very, very good. Chenyulu and Haw are monsters, and they go 8 deep of guys that can absolutely give them minutes. And LSU just didn't have the horses to keep up with that. They gave the one great spurt that they had, and then Florida just kind of swatted them off like a gnat.
Yeah, it's impressive to look at how, like you said before, if you look at the final score, look at the box score, it's like, okay, this went exactly how you expected. It didn't, and Florida got tested. But at the same time, man, I mean, LSU, played relatively good defense. They just could not clear the boards, and Florida made 7 threes. They didn't shoot the ball well.
Nope.
And they still scored 80 points,
44-24 in the painted area. That's the end of that.
Yep.
So LSU loses at 79-65 to the Florida Gators. We'll step aside, and when we come back, Dr. Jeremy Burnham is next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is the website. Every car that is on the lots right there, Airline and PQ, is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. So start your shopping process right there online. You can search the entire inventory. You can check out every vehicle in their line at Genesis of Baton Rouge. It starts with the sedan, moves all the way up to the SUV. When you think Genesis, think luxury. When you think luxury, don't think, probably not for me. I don't think I can pay for that. You might be surprised. Genesis brand is luxury at a reasonable price. So start your process online. Go visit them at Airline at PQ. Chat with one of their brand ambassadors. Get behind the wheel of a Genesis vehicle. You will see the difference immediately. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can find them online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
All right, closing out hour number 1 here, Monday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. All your printing, scanning, copying needs, you can find them at Gulf Coast, gcopnet.com, gcopnet.com. A couple times a month, we get a chance to talk with Dr. Jeremy Burnham from Auctioner. It's our sports health segment presented by Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Dr. Burnham, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Hunt. How are you guys doing?
Doing quite well. I wanted to talk some shoulders with you today because it's relevant in a couple of spots for LSU athletics. Damian Collins has been fighting through shoulder issues dating back to Thanksgiving just about. When they were in West Virginia, he separated his shoulder trying to dunk a ball into the rim, and it's been re-injured, but he goes out there and continues to play. I'm curious how difficult that's got to be to play at an SEC level of basketball and have to deal with your shoulder popping in and out of joint.
You got to imagine that's pretty tough. And I always like to clarify that I don't have any direct, knowledge about these specific injuries,
Sure.
but I can tell you about the shoulder and shoulder injuries in sports. And, I always try to explain to people the shoulder is like a golf tee and a golf ball, and the golf tee is laying on its side. And that golf ball, if there was nothing holding it in place, it would just roll off the golf tee. And that's how you can think of the labrum, because the labrum is a gasket that goes around the edge of that golf tee. And that's one of the important things that helps to keep it on the tee. And then you've got your muscles, your rotator cuff, different things like that are kind of controlling it. And so one of the things that's unique about the shoulder is it can respond very well to non-surgical treatment of injuries. And, there's a lot of room to strengthen the muscles that hold the shoulder and sometimes compensate for injuries to the labrum or injuries to some of the ligaments around there. And so, if you're a world-class athlete, an elite athlete, and you've got, a world-class elite sports medicine team around you to help you do that, it's certainly possible to do that, even if you have some structural things that are going on. Although it's not easy and it's not automatic, that's for sure.
Ethan Fry on the LSU baseball team, I don't even know if I knew this, but he tore his labrum in season last year and decided instead of having the surgery to repair it, to try to help the team any way he could and play through it. And he was starting about one game a week. But he said it didn't hurt 24/7. Sometimes when he would swing the bat, though, he would feel it there, so we had to make some tweaks there. Can you speak to, that decision that he made, and then to what that may feel like trying to play through a torn labrum? They told us in the press conference last week he wasn't at risk of hurting it any further. It was just how much pain he could tolerate.
When you think about these shoulder injuries, and then you think about the sports that require a lot of upper extremity activity, basketball, baseball, some football positions, all those types of things, softball, I think that's when it's the most challenging, when you have an athlete that has a shoulder injury that also needs to use their shoulder a lot. The shoulder is unique as a joint in that the only thing that connects it to the rest of the skeleton is the collarbone, and everything else is soft tissue. And so that's one of the reasons, especially with people that are great athletes and have a great team and can do the right kind of rehab, that they can actually overcome some of these injuries, right? And like I said, not that it's easy, but by training some of these accessory muscles, they can compensate for some of the structural things that are going on. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of work, but it's one of those things that responds very well. And I think, when you're dealing with athletes, when we deal with our patients, one of the first things we ask is, sport, position, where they are in the season, because I think the treatment options revolve around that. And same thing with somebody that's, got a job or something else that they need to do that's non-sports related. You really have to make your decisions based on what is this person trying to get back to do, and then try to help that unique individual the best way that you can.
Chatting with Dr. Jeremy Burnham from Ochsner, our segment every 2 weeks here on Mondays. I know you just got back from a conference. So some of y'all's athletic trainers over at Ochsner were highlighted. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We have an amazing team of athletic trainers here, and what's been really cool is watching that team grow and watching them work in different areas of sports medicine and orthopedics and really just healthcare as a whole. And so a lot of people are familiar with athletic trainers on the sidelines. We have a really big program that services a lot of schools in the communities, that we have athletic trainers out there keeping, our kids out there safe on the sideline. But what a lot of people don't realize is we also have a lot of athletic trainers in our clinic, and they work in our clinic, they work in the surgery center with us and assist us in surgery, and they work in our PT gym. And so athletic trainers really have this unique training and background that help them understand the body and the musculoskeletal system at a level that many people don't. And so the conference that we went to is a conference in Louisville that's dedicated specifically to athletic trainers working in physician practices. We had a great showing. We had 6 or 7 athletic trainers that gave presentations there. We gave a presentation on ACL return to play, but there were also various other topics that hit on different areas of medicine. And it was just super impressive, number one, to see the healthcare community as a whole kind of recognizing the importance and the value of athletic trainers and medical care. And then also just to see the Ochsner Sports Med team there really representing us well. So that was a great conference. We had a really good time, learned a lot while we were there.
Always enjoy our conversations, Doc. Appreciate a little bit of time. We'll talk in a couple of weeks.
Talk to you soon. Huh? Thanks.
Dr. Jeremy Burnham there from Ochsner. At Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute, we know that sports industry injuries can be unpredictable, but one situation you can protect yourself from is muscle cramping. One of the first things you can do to aid in recovery and avoid muscle cramping is to stretch prior to and at the end of your activities. If you're not drinking enough fluids, that can lead to muscle cramping as well, so be sure to stay hydrated as that heat doesn't feel like it right now, but it is certainly coming. To learn more about sports-related injury prevention and treatment, you can visit ochsner.org/BRortho. Appreciate Dr. Burnham for a little bit of time here on this Monday. That deal with Ethan Fry, I talked about it a little bit last week, but that's a story that I certainly did not highlight last year if I knew about it. That you had a young man who wasn't even a full-time starter, who got hurt, was in pain, having to change his swing because his labrum was torn. And instead of saying, I need to go ahead and get this surgery taken care of, maybe I can get back for a little bit of summer ball and try to improve myself and get that taken care of as quick as I can for myself. Instead, he goes, no, I can still help this team some way or another. I'll figure this out after the season. And he gutted it out week after week after week. And his numbers weren't great, and they certainly suffered because of the injury. But the selflessness that kid showed was really, really impressive. And I don't want to pigeonhole players that come to LSU that aren't from Louisiana, because I think there are probably a lot of guys who came here that aren't from Louisiana that LSU means a ton to. But I do think that sometimes when you have these Louisiana kids, like Ethan Fry, Jake Brown is one of these as well, Gavin Guidry is one of these as well, who Cade Beloso is a guy we've talked to in the past, Will Helmer's a guy. When you have some of these Louisiana kids, it just means a little bit more. And I think that certainly rings true with Ethan Fry and the decision that he made, and that's been really, really impressive. As far as Damian Collins goes, that's another guy. He's battling. He's really been hurt his whole time at LSU. He got hurt twice last year, and he's been hurt most of this year. And he's gotten through and trying to give you everything he can. I mean, that's hard to go down there and play against a bunch of 6'10", 260-pound dudes when your shoulder's been popping out of socket. And Damian Collins has been handling that. And I thought that Dr. Brennan gave some really good insight on just how those decisions come about and why it can or can't be handled by playing. And that's what those guys are going through right at this moment. That's it for hour number 1 here on this Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Again, we're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. For all your printing, scanning, copying needs, Gulf Coast Office Products is your one-stop shop, gcopnet.com. There's a whole new world of NIL that is coming with revenue share. Wilson Alexander wrote a piece on LSU's plans moving into that, and we'll talk to him after SportsCenter. Come back for our second hour on this Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Pete Thamel reports Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty will not work out for NFL teams at the Combine this week. Jeanty will join Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders on the sidelines. Broncos assistant coach Michael Wilhoit charged with assaulting a police officer over the weekend in Denver. Wilhoit played in the NFL for 6 years with the 49ers and Seahawks. Shohei Ohtani will likely make his spring training debut as a hitter later this week. As for pitching, ESPN's Jeff Passan says there's no need to rush it coming off a torn labrum.
What you want for October is the best version of the team that you've got. And the best version of this team includes Shohei Ohtani on the mound, so there's no reason to get him back in April or May or, hell, even June if you don't have to, because you want him there for the moments that count.
Jeff Passan on Clinton and Friends. Mets lefty Sean Manaea shut down for a few weeks with a right oblique strain. Manager Carlos Mendoza says he'll likely start the season on the injured list.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Tuesday, Shedeur Sanders won't work out at the Combine, and I'll tell you why that's a miss for all of the top quarterback prospects. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Talk a little LSU Nicholls later on in this hour. Tigers and Colonels, little Monday Night Baseball from the box 4 hours from right now, so I'll give you my thoughts on what to look for in that one. Plus, the Saints are making some coaching hires, so we'll discuss that as well. But we kick off the hour with Wilson Alexander of The Advocate. Got a piece up at theadvocate.com right now. It's titled, LSU may have a way to help players earn more money than the Tigers will be able to pay them. Wilson joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Wilson, how we doing? Do we have Wilson? Wilson, you there?
Hear me?
I got you now. I believe we weren't hitting a button there, but we got you. So, look, I want to discuss this story because I think we're all entering a new frontier here that is different than the Wild West that we've seen. As right now, basically, you go to the booster base, whether it's grassroots or the big money donors, and you put all the money into a collective, and you try to dish out as much of it as you can to buy a roster. I think everyone is on that page. At what point will that no longer be the case?
Well, potentially this summer, as the House settlement has a part in it where there's an enforcement arm. That is, every NIL deal over $600 has to go through this clearinghouse, which is going to be run by Deloitte. And in theory, that is supposed to curb the pay-for-play activity that you just referenced, where collectives have just sort of turned into this thing that is designed to help you fund your rosters. And it's sort of true NIL is obviously out there, but it hasn't become the main sort of engine for building your rosters. So that would, in theory, curb pay-for-play activity. Now, we'll see if that actually happens, because there's a lot of questions about that as to what are the future of collectives. Can that sort of thing actually be enforced? I'm sure it'll face legal challenges because one of the things that the NCAA has said is that they want those NIL deals to be fair market value and serve a valid business purpose. Well, how you define that may change person to person. So, in theory, it could end this summer, or at least certainly lessen in importance. But we'll kind of have to see how that plays out because it's a little bit uncertain right now.
The other piece to this is the revenue sharing portion, and you write in your story that LSU is expected to max that out at just north of $20 million. But there's a way to actually get the players a little bit more money. I think that's the genesis of why you wrote this story. So walk me through those two pieces to this puzzle.
Yes, in the first year, that's going to be the $20.5 million, and LSU, as you said, certainly plans to pay up to that. But the new recruiting frontier, the new battleground, is really going to be how do you exceed the cap? And LSU's plan is it's partnered with Playfly, which is its longtime multimedia rights partner anyway, in this program called Playfly Max. And they did that last summer. But the sort of details of how that are going to work and the significance of it sort of became apparent at LSU's board meeting on Friday when an amended contract between the two parties was approved. And what's going to happen is that there are going to be members of Playfly staff who are on LSU's campus and helping out, trying to find real, true NIL deals, things like you would see Garrett Nussmeier with Powerade or Livy Dunn with Vuori, trying to leverage what LSU's brand is and the corporate sponsorships that they already have to get these players more money than they can be paid by the school.
So it essentially is a third party that is matchmaking athletes and brand. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, in a way. I think the third party element is interesting there because LSU is certainly part of this. I mean, this went through the board of supervisors. This is something that LSU will be part of. So it's not necessarily full on third party, but Playfly is sort of a third party in this, and they'll be able to help leverage those things and try to arrange those deals.
So Bayou Traditions is obviously LSU's collective at this point that is basically the honey hole, and you just distribute things out of there. What do you make of the future of that organization and I guess collectives around the country?
It's just really unclear right now in the long-term future. I think there's an important distinction there between sort of short-term importance and long-term future. Because in the short term, Bayou Traditions is still really important to LSU. Kelly Zinn, LSU's deputy AD, emphasized that they want to be aggressive in the basketball transfer portal here coming up to support Matt McMahon. And a lot of that's going to be contingent on the dollars coming from the collective. So over the next few months here, it's still really important. Maybe even if LSU, depending on how active it needs to get in the spring transfer portal window for football, it would still serve a purpose there. But past July 1, when the House settlement is expected to go into effect, obviously that still has to be approved by the judge in April. The collective's future is really unclear, because LSU's kind of has to figure that out to see, sort of what the national landscape is, what is allowed. If it is allowed to continue to operate and would in some capacity, then it could have a role. But what that's going to be is just sort of unknown right now.
Wilson Alexander is our guest, covers LSU for The Advocate. Got a great piece up at theadvocate.com right now talking about the new frontier in terms of revenue streams and athlete compensation in NCAA athletics. One of the pieces that you talked about in here is revenue streams that LSU is going to have to try to tap into to help pay the athletes the $20 million that you have reported. And one of the things you write about are jersey patches and on-field advertisements. What did you uncover there?
Yeah, part of the Playfly deal that LSU struck is that Playfly is kind of given the exclusive right to go out and try to sell those things, basically, and help LSU find a partner for on-field advertisements and for jersey patches. For the on-field advertisements, we've already seen in basketball this year, there's a Cox logo on the floor of basketball games. It would be like that, but at Alex Box Stadium and at Tiger Stadium. That started being allowed this past year. LSU didn't jump in on that immediately, but their deputy AD for revenue generation, Clay Harris, told me that you're going to see that in the not too distant future here. Logos on the field there, probably on the 25-yard line at Tiger Stadium, and something at Alex Box Stadium as well. And with jersey patches, those aren't allowed by the NCAA yet, but there's conversations happening on the national level to basically sell space on a jersey for a company to advertise. And that's something that LSU is certainly looking into. Clay Harris said that they've been doing research into that over the past 6 months behind the scenes. And as soon as that would be allowed by the NCAA, if those rules change, then LSU is ready to capitalize on it. He called it one of the most valuable assets that LSU would ever have to sell. And so that they would certainly be interested in finding someone to do that with.
I'm curious, and this is not something that you wrote in the story, but I feel like you've had a lot of conversations. Perhaps this has come up. There was a time there for like 20 plus years where it was such a facilities arms race, and LSU certainly competed in that. They've spent a lot of money upgrading facilities. Well, now with the amount of money that's going to have to go right back to the athletes, do you think that part of things is going to slow down?
Certainly. There was last year when LSU opened its performance facility, the athletic training area in the football operations building, that did that new development. One of the things someone told me was they were really glad that got done when it did, because that is not going to be something that necessarily is a priority moving forward. It is certainly still something that LSU can continue to build out with its facilities. They're still in the midst of working on this new arena. That would be a huge facilities type project. But obviously, even the funding for that is different than what you might have seen in the past, because that's going to be something that is done, with it's not just like money that you're getting from donors to build a facility or something like that, or just leaning fully on tap. The funding for that is different. So that's really what we're pivoting away from. It's Scott Woodward has said before, it's going away from capital in that direction toward human capital and investing in the players in order to be able to have them on your rosters, because that's what they're more focused on these days is the money that they're actually going to have in their pocket. They still want the good facilities. LSU can't just let those, fall apart and rot, and it's certainly not going to let them do, but it's not the priority that it used to be.
And last one here, Wilson, we appreciate some of your time here on this Monday. In your conversations and in your understanding of what this new world is going to look like, how do you feel like LSU is going to stack up in terms of their ability to acquire talent with the folks who are in wealthier states, wealthier donor bases, bigger alumni bases, that kind of thing? I think that's what LSU fans are curious about and maybe fearful of.
Yeah, we've already seen that be an issue at times over the past few years. The collective was sort of slow to get really up and running to the level that some other places are and have been. I think we've seen a change over the past year in particular, maybe a year and a half plus. But that's something that that sort of approach and mindset needs to continue even if collectives aren't happening. And this is something where LSU is going out to try to find those true NIL deals like we talked about. Then that mindset still needs to exist. It would still need those people, those corporate partners, to be willing to get in on those things with LSU athletes. And in that regard, I do think LSU is well positioned. It's a nationally recognized brand. That's something that it has been trying to leverage for the past 2 years. But it's sort of the whole landscape kind of shifted away from that toward these anonymous donor dollars and basically just giving over the table payments in a way that we used to see under the table payments. And so I think LSU is well positioned if it can become more of a true NIL model. But we'll kind of see how things play out, because we just really don't know what the future of collectives are. But either way, I think the thing moving forward is how do you exceed the cap and how much can you exceed the cap, because everybody is going to be trying to do that.
Story at The Advocate. LSU may have a way to help players earn more money than the Tigers will be able to pay them. You can go check it out online or in your hard copy as well. Wilson, we appreciate some time, man. Thanks.
Thanks for having me. Have a good one.
You too. That is Wilson Alexander from The Advocate. Briefly on this while we're still here before we go to break. I've watched every game LSU's played in basketball. I don't know that I could have told you this morning that there was a Cox logo on the floor.
You never noticed that?
I'm sure I have. It's right there, but it didn't stick with me, I guess is the point.
I always remember that. It's been there for a long time.
So it hasn't bothered me. I don't know that LSU's basketball floor is as powerful in my brain as the football field and the baseball fields are.
Yeah.
That's just a personal thing maybe, or maybe that's just a common deal. If there was a huge corporate logo in the middle of center field, that would bum me out a little bit. If there's super huge colorful stuff on the 25-yard lines, that'll bum me out a little bit. But what would bum me out more is if LSU couldn't recruit any players because they didn't have the revenue stream to revenue share with the student athletes. And if you're going to pay $20 million a year to the players across all the sports, you have to generate revenue from just about anywhere you can. I believe, y'all know this, I believe LSU's football uniforms to be as iconic as any in American sport. I don't think that's hyperbole. No one else looks like that, and I think it's gorgeous. I think it's awesome. Now, LSU watered it down a little bit this year because they never wore them, but that's the case. And if you slapped a big red logo on or something, it would bum me out. Now, that said, the Cubs did this on the sleeve, and the Yankees have done it on the sleeve, and it hasn't been that big a deal. If you gave me the option, do it or don't do it, and money's not on the table, I don't want to do it. But I understand. I understand that we're entering a new world. Beck, do you have any stronger thoughts than me on that?
No, I just think that the uniform is you are one that values the history and standard of uniforms. I think more than most people. I think there's going to be. I think a lot of people in my generation are not going to care that much if they do have a patch on the uniform. I don't really care that much about it. I mean, the NBA's been doing it for years. They have the little patch on the front, the front corner of the shoulder.
The Cubs have a Motorola M on their left shoulder, and it hasn't made me turn the game off.
Right.
So it's I don't want to. I'm being careful not to actually use an actual brand because I don't mean to disparage anybody in a hypothetical, but I would like to have an example of who wants to buy the jersey patch and what does that look like. If it's orange and red, that's going to be come on, man. If it's subtle and black and white or something, the Cubs Motorola is this basically the same color as the jersey. It kind of goes. The Yankees have an insurance company and it's navy and white. But if it's something obnoxious, I'll probably say something. But it's just a new world, and I understand where LSU's coming from. And as I've always said, as changes come and go, the most important thing is winning. And you basically have to do what it takes within reason to go win. And if you can get I don't know what the dollar figures we're talking about here are, but I'm sure it's tens. You're talking about, I'm sure, 8 figures worth of money to get patches on the jersey and logos on the field. It is what it is. I love the fact that Alec Box Stadium, they just took all the outfield wall stuff and they don't have colorful logos anymore. They just have everything in green and white. I think that looks a lot better, and that kind of goes back to the point of kind of blending it in and making it look seamless while taking a few bucks on the side. So, again, I think that this is probably a talking point to your point back for 50% of people, and the other 50 are who gives a damn, when do they play? I do care about some of that stuff. I like tradition. I like history. I like ambiance. I like that kind of stuff. And we'll see just how it all shakes out. But as I mentioned at the top, I'm admitting I'm not blowing a gasket. I couldn't have told you this morning what company's logo was on the court at the PMAC. I would have had a hard time coming up with that off the top of my head. So that just goes to show you, I guess, maybe some things are a little less important than I think they are in my head. We'll see. Let's talk LSU Nicholls when we come back on the LSU. It's not on the LSU Sports Radio Network. This would be 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Remember, for all your printing, scanning, copying needs, Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. All kind of new technology over there, Gulf Coast Office Products. But more importantly, they've just got an expertise in printing, scanning, copying. And oftentimes, folks don't know exactly what type of printer, scanner, copier they need for their line of work. And the beautiful thing about Gulf Coast Office Products is that they have clients in every vertical market you can think of. So no matter what it is that you do professionally, they've got clients and they understand the needs of that vertical market, and they can help you out with it. They've got a ton of resources, over $1 million of product here in the Baton Rouge store, but they're statewide as well. They can help you out wherever you are in the state of Louisiana, but they're not so big that you're just a line item and probably have to call a recorded line. You're going to get somebody on the phone. If you call Gulf Coast Office Products, you're going to have a relationship with your rep, whether it's Trey Beal or whoever it is over there at Gulf Coast. They're going to make sure that you are properly taken care of. They do it for us here at Guarantee. We love working with the folks at Gulf Coast Office Products. Go find them online, gcopnet.com. All right, LSU and Nicholls tonight, 6 o'clock first pitch from the box. A little Monday night action. Remember, LSU was supposed to go to Nicholls Wednesday of last week. That game got postponed. They did a little bit of a shuffle. Now, instead of Nicholls coming to Baton Rouge in April, which was scheduled, LSU is going to make that trip down to Thibodaux in April, and Nicholls will play in Baton Rouge tonight at 6 o'clock. It's a busy week for LSU. They'll play a Monday night game against Nicholls. They'll travel to Dallas on Tuesday. They'll play Dallas Baptist on Wednesday at Globe Life Field. Then they'll go up to practice at Frisco on Thursday, and they'll play a 3-game set in that Frisco tournament on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday against Kansas State, somebody in Sam Houston. I'll come up with that. Nebraska. Kansas State, Nebraska, and Sam Houston. I'll be there for my show on Friday, noon to 2 from Ryder Park, and then I'll be there to cover the games for LouisianaSports.net throughout the weekend. So looking forward to getting up to the Dallas area on Friday morning and doing the show from the ballpark on Friday. So if you're there in Frisco, whether you're traveling over from Louisiana or you live in the Dallas area and you're going over to see the Tigers, I hope you can come see me. I'll be in the ballpark from noon to 2 on the air. Looking very much forward to that. But it all starts this evening against Nicholls. I wrote a preview for the game at LouisianaSports.net, and I've got a few things that I'm looking for. None of them are necessarily, specific to a game with Nicholls. I do think you're going to see Gavin Guidry start this game. He was supposed to start on Wednesday. I don't have a good reason that he has not pitched yet. I don't think he's hurt. I don't think he's in the doghouse. I think Jay Johnson has just prioritized getting some other guys some innings because he wants to see them work. He knows what he's got in Gavin Guidry. I think you've got a new and improved Gavin Guidry with a little bit more juice on the fastball and with a changeup that he's been developing. But you know what you've got in terms of the moxie, and the guy's made 45 appearances with an ERA of 3.23 in 2 years at LSU. He's been a good arm for you, and I expect to see him tonight. I'm curious how long they extend him in this game. I'd love to see him go 3 innings or so. I'd love to see him feature that changeup. I'd love to see what the radar gun reads. Not the best day to let it fly. It's still a little bit chilly out there. But I'm curious to see him if, in fact, he is the starting pitcher tonight. I kind of expect that, but that does remain to be seen. I mentioned this at the top of the show when I talked offense. I want to know who hits leadoff tonight. I think that's an important spot in the LSU order. I don't think Chris Stanfield, because he struck out 3 times in one game on Friday, deserves to be, stripped of his duties there. But if they want to take another look at Daniel Dickinson, if they want to put Derek Curiel up there, if they want to go with Tanner Reeves for a second straight game, I'm just curious to see what they do at the leadoff spot there. And the defense. I think LSU's defense has been phenomenal. Yes, they're getting some assistance from a lot of strikeouts, but LSU's errors this year, there are 4 of them. Binge on Saturday threw a pickoff throw into center field. DJ Primo picked up a swinging bunt and threw it in the outfield. That's 2 throwing errors by pitchers. You had Costello, who misplayed a foul ball for an error, and then you had a catcher's interference on Luis Hernandez in the opener. So none of your regulars in the field have made a misplay, and you've played 7 games. So to me, that's a very, very positive thing that LSU has caught the ball. It hasn't been necessarily a lot of difficult plays that LSU's had to make. Some of the Curiel made a really good play in the outfield. Stanfield's made a couple of nice plays in the outfield. But LSU's making the plays defensively. And when you hear Major League Baseball organizations talk about the defensive side of the game, they'll talk about it in terms of run prevention, which marries the pitching staff and your defense. And I think LSU's pitching staff is going to be towards the top of the SEC in terms of talent and performance. And if you can catch the ball behind a staff that's really good, you give yourself a great chance to win a ton of games. I know that sounds obvious, but college baseball players make a lot of errors. College infielders make a lot of errors. College players make bad throws often. Outfielders can have some trouble here and there, and you really haven't seen that from LSU. So while I do have some concerns about the offense and how it comes together and where the star power is and where the power comes from, LSU did not hit a home run over the weekend. That concern lessens if you pitch it great and catch it great, because you don't have to be as good on offense. So tonight you're playing a Nicholls team that is hitting 248 as a team, a Nicholls team that has 2 home runs total. If LSU plays 9 innings of error-free baseball with that pitching staff, Nicholls isn't going to score a lot of runs, and you have a great chance to win the game. That's just kind of the way I see LSU's team right now as you're playing through these cold games, as you're trying to figure out how the batting lineup works. You can do a lot of things in terms of quote-unquote tinkering if you're pitching it great and you're catching it great. And LSU is absolutely catching the ball great right now, and you certainly hope that continues this evening. So LSU and Nicholls tonight, 6 o'clock from the box. If you want to listen to that one, you can. It'll be on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Pregame will fire up at 5:30. Believe it'll be Chris Blair and Doug Thompson on the call for this one. So looking forward to LSU and Nicholls tonight from the box. I want to send out another reminder. We had sports trivia last week. It was at Pizza by Roan's on Perkins Road. Fantastic crowd. Appreciate those of you that came out to win some gift cards, eat some pizza, and we watched some basketball as well. Had a great time. We're going to continue to do that. That was kind of a trial run. We had been at Pluckers for 10 years, so we're kind of looking for a new home there, and Pizza by Roan's was generous enough to open their doors. So we had a great time last Tuesday. We're going to do it again tomorrow. But we are going to change the time. So if you're listening and you are a frequent trivia player on Tuesdays. We're going to move everything up to 8 o'clock. We've been at 8:30 forever and ever, amen. We are going to move things up to 8 o'clock. Pizza by Roans generally doesn't stay open that late on weekdays, so we're going to try to help their staff out a little bit and get out of there a little bit more quickly. So 8 o'clock for sports trivia tomorrow at Pizza by Roans. We'll have LSU and Tennessee on the TV. They got fantastic pizza. They got wings as well. You can drink some cold drinks and win some gift cards. Always a good time, so I hope to see a bunch of y'all out there. Pizza by Roans tomorrow at 8 o'clock for sports trivia. When we come back, the Saints have hired a New Orleans native to their staff. Who is it and what does it mean? We'll talk about that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. Nothing more important than the safety, security of your home and your family. And at the Palmer House, we've trusted Audio Video Security Solutions with all of that. Mitchell Fisher and his team came over. We told him what we were looking for, what our budget was. He said, okay, we got you. They brought the equipment over, 2 cameras, 1 front door, 1 at the back door, installed the burglar alarm, installed the apps on our phone, walked us through how to use it all. I can remotely disarm and arm my burglar alarm. I can 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, look at a camera of my front door and my back door. I can pause, rewind, zoom in, all of that. Plus, I don't pay any cloud storage fees, any of that. It's been fantastic for us at the Palmer House, and if you don't have that installed at your home, well, I know who you should call. It's Audio Video Security Solutions. Find them on Instagram, AVSS_BR. Great resource there of some of the fantastic products that they have. You can also find them online. It's Audio Video Security Solutions. They're online at avssla.com.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
your Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Appreciate Dr. Jeremy Burnham for jumping aboard. Appreciate Wilson Alexander as well. Been a fast-moving Monday show. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Kellen Moore's tenure as the Saints head coach, off to a good start, putting together that staff, and told you last week at the end of the week that Brandon Staley was his pick for defensive coordinator, and they're continuing to build out that defensive staff. I mentioned that the first thing Kellen Moore wanted to do was get his offense in order. He got the guys that he wanted. Starts with Doug Nussmeier, coordinator, and you kind of fill out the group that you want. And then you got to get the defensive staff, but that's got to start with the coordinator, and he's got to kind of get the guys that he wants to implement his defense. So you get Staley on board, and you let him have a heavy hand in terms of putting together the defensive staff. And one of the moves that the Saints have reportedly made today, according to NFL Media's Tom Pelissero, is that they're bringing Terry Joseph back to New Orleans. The Joseph family, many of you likely know, big football family in the city of New Orleans. Of course, Mickey was a star player, then went to Nebraska, then he coached at LSU with the wide receivers for a long time. Vance has certainly had a great career in the NFL. They are Terry's cousins. Now, Terry went to Shaw and has bounced around in his coaching career, but is most recently the defensive passing game coordinator and secondary coach at Texas, the University of Texas, the Longhorns. And he's never been an NFL coach, but he's obviously got this opportunity based on some really quality work there at Texas. And he's got work to do here with the New Orleans secondary. This is not a position that's been filled in the Dennis Allen era. Dennis Allen certainly had a lot to do with what the Saints did in the secondary, but the team has fallen off from that perspective. The Saints were 27th in football against the pass last year. So you're going to have to tighten that up. Now, you've got Alontae Taylor, obviously. You've got Kool-Aid McKinstry, obviously, and they finished the season at the corner spots for New Orleans. You traded Marshawn Lattimore away. He is gone. Paulson Adebo, unfortunately, had his season cut short with a very significant injury, and the Saints will have a question of whether or not they sign him. This is the general thought about Paulson Adebo, that he would have played himself out of the Saints' price range down the stretch last year. But with that significant injury, does his market kind of slow down, and are the Saints able to re-sign him to a deal at a more reasonable price? That just remains to be seen. But the Saints have been one of the better pass defense teams in terms of personnel and in terms of production in the Dennis Allen era. They've done a good job of developing good defensive backs, especially at corner. Lattimore is the most famous example, but I would suggest that Adebo was a really, really good player and pick for them, and I think Alontae Taylor has shown some flashes as well. Remains to be seen with Kool-Aid. He was hit and miss this past year, but it's a rookie year, and he was moving around a lot. He was playing the nickel, then they had injuries. He had to go outside. He got picked on a little bit, but that does happen. You got Tyrann Mathieu back there for what he believes is a couple more years, and then what are you going to do with Jordan Howden? They've got some work to do to address safety, I think, because I think Tyrann's getting up there in age, and you may need to go get a safety here or there. They tried that last year, and I don't know that any of it took. But Joseph has roots in New Orleans. He comes from a football family. He did a really good job at Texas where they were talented. I mean, that was a good defense that Texas put out there on the field last year. But I think that while it's going to be important to draft and sign in free agency and identify undrafted free agents in the secondary, you've got to continue to develop some of these young players. Like, you need Alontae Taylor and Kool-Aid McKinstry to develop into really, really good players. And because they're young and cheap. We keep coming back to that with the Saints. Young and cheap, young and cheap, young and cheap. You've got to develop those guys. And if they think that Terry Joseph is the guy to do that, I'm all aboard. You look at those guys, they're under contract, they're talented, you've invested in them, it's their time. You've moved on from Marshawn Lattimore. We'll see with Adebo. But the development at that position is crucial. Like, there are some spots where you're just going to have to overhaul. Like, there just are. I don't think that corner is one of those. Safety might be. I don't think that corner is. And so Terry Joseph comes in, Archbishop Shaw graduate, to try to help with the secondary. Incidentally, in his resume, Joseph has worked at LSU, Tennessee, Nebraska, Texas A&M, North Carolina, Notre Dame, and Texas. That's over about 20 years of coaching. So not a young buck here, just a guy that hasn't spent time in the NFL. But I think a good hire there for New Orleans. They try to figure out that defense behind Brandon Staley, who put one of the best defenses in the NFL on the field when he was with the Rams just a few years ago. And the Chargers were pretty good until they weren't, and then Staley was let go. So just interesting. I think all eyes now for the NFL and for the Saints turn to the Combine, which is this week. We'll have coverage of that at LouisianaSports.net, thanks to our friend Ross Jackson. And the Saints will certainly be there in full force trying to figure out some of the guys that they need to bring in to try to overhaul the talent on this roster to make sure that New Orleans rejoins the playoff party here sooner rather than later. So that's our look at the newest member of the New Orleans Saints hire. That is Terry Joseph. He'll be the defensive passing game coordinator. If you're looking for Saints coverage, you can always find it on YouTube, Hunt on Saints. You can always find it wherever you find your podcast, Hunt on Saints. And you can always find it at LouisianaSports.net, where Ross Jackson is rocking and rolling with all the news and all the opinion there on our Saints tab over at LouisianaSports.net. And as we mentioned, it's always 100% free. So we got one segment left to go. We will close things out on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. How about a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty? 10 years, 100,000 miles. How about 3 years of complimentary maintenance? How about 3 years of complimentary valet maintenance? They drive to you, leave you a loaner so you can get on about your day, bring your vehicle back to the dealership right there, Airline at Piku, get that work done, whether it's your oil change or your wiper fluid, or maybe it's an air filter. They handle all that. It's complimentary for 3 years. Drive it right on back to you. Can't be any more convenient than that. That's what they aim to do at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Have a discussion with one of their brand ambassadors there at the store. Fantastic people, unbelievable team, and a great line of vehicles. And every vehicle, from the entry level all the way to the highest end, comes with the same safety base because they take that very, very seriously at Genesis. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Find them online, GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
ESPN, Baton Rouge, and Citizens Bank and Trust want to help cover your car payments. It's a $5,000 grand prize with a bonus chance to win free car washes from Benny's Car Wash for 6 months. We're also letting you earn extra entries by subscribing to our LouisianaSports.net daily newsletter. We have just one more day to sign up. Tomorrow is the deadline. If you want to sign up, visit 1045ESPN.com. And 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge is your home for the New Orleans Pelicans. Tune in as the Pels host the Spurs tomorrow night at 7. They hit the road against the Suns Thursday night and Friday night at 8 p.m. and then travel to face the Jazz Sunday at 7. Pelicans coverage is brought to you locally by Industry Makes.
Did you see Paxton Kling start to his season?
He has as many home runs as the entire LSU team, Hunt.
He's got 4.
He has 5, I think.
Does he have 5?
Yeah.
He hit his 5th one? I
believe
missed that.
so.
So he's got 5 homers. He hit 5 at LSU in 2 years.
Yeah. Change of scenery, Hunt. You never know.
Man, we are Penn State. Gotta love the Nittany Lions.
Probably could have used that. Probably could have used that kind of bat in the lineup this year.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm pulling for the guy. I hope he does well. I just he did not show that in 2 years in Baton Rouge. Incidentally, and we won't overdo this because we're going to talk about it on Wednesday when we do SEC baseball power rankings. Have you caught the start to the season for the Missouri Tigers this year?
Yeah.
It's been a bit of a struggle for Missouri. They went down to Puerto Rico.
I think you had them last.
I did.
If I remember correctly.
Just spoiler alert, I'm not sure they play in the midweek this week. They will remain last.
Okay.
They opened the season. This was last week. They went to Puerto Rico. They lost the opener 10-0 to Penn State. They beat UConn 11-7, and UConn's almost always in a regional. That's a nice win for Missouri there, 11-7. And they lost to Stetson 9-7. So you lost 2 games to Penn State and Stetson. You come back in the midweek and you play Central Florida and lose 7-1. Not competitive. You play Florida A&M. Not necessarily a power in the baseball world. You beat them 6-5. Then you play Alabama State, who is usually in a regional because they win that league, but they're not very good. Alabama State beat Missouri 10-2. Then they beat Southern 15-3. But you've got already, through 2 weeks of baseball, Missouri has lost 10-2 to Alabama State, 7-1 to Central Florida, 10-0 to Penn State, and 9-7 to Stetson. Like, when I tell you that LSU needs to get off to a good start in league play, that may be an understatement because Missouri is coming to the box. I very, very rarely call for sweeps, like saying you need to sweep an SEC series. That's very difficult to do. Last year, LSU kind of put themselves in a position where they needed to try to go get a couple of sweeps because you started 3-12 in the league. So that kind of goes without saying that you need to kind of take care of your business at that point and win as many games as you can. When you got a team that is losing to MEAC schools and getting blown out and run ruled by Penn State, like, you need to beat those guys. It's a much more forgiving open to league play this year than it was last year when LSU, I think I know this off the top of my head, their start to conference play last year was at Mississippi State, home Florida, at Tennessee, at Arkansas, Vanderbilt, something. It's those teams. I don't know exactly the order. But that was pretty rough. Missouri in the box for your first three SEC games. That needs to go pretty well for the Tigers. So we'll cross that bridge in a couple of weeks when we get to it. Still got 2 weeks of non-conference play left, but tough start for the Missouri Tigers on the diamond thus far. All right, Beck, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take
All righty, first one here, The Little Mermaid. Take it or leave it.
So we're going through Disney movies. He's seeing them for the first time. I'm seeing them for the first time in, I want to say, 28, 30 years. I mean, I probably haven't seen The Little Mermaid since I was 7. That's 30 years ago.
Yep.
I'll take it. It's good. It did hold up. I liked it. He loves it. He's watched it over and over again. I will say we have a little bit of a problem with The Little Mermaid. Just a small complaint here. We've got a 16-year-old getting married 2 days after meeting someone.
Yeah, that's a bit much, but I mean...
problematic.
Yeah. I mean, you see all of these shows say 90 Day Fiancés, the Love is Blind show and everything. I mean,
yeah, they're not 16.
That's true.
She explicitly says she's 16 years old in the first couple scenes.
Not a great look.
Bit of a problem. But hey, look, it's so funny how emotions work, because I haven't seen that movie again in 30 years. And I just felt like Ursula was the scariest thing I had ever seen in my life when I was like 5. And she's not that scary now, that I'm 37. She was quite frightening back in the day.
Oh, yeah,
when
of
she
course.
gets to be massive.
Very scary.
Yeah, and then she gets all the seas all whipped up and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, tough gig there for Ariel to agree that she's got to fall in love with a guy and she can't talk for 3 days.
That's
tough. I didn't
not
remember
great.
that as a plot point.
Yeah.
And she did not win that bet.
No.
But shout out to King Triton. He gave his soul up for his daughter. He turned into a little. We
need a couple of we need some movie reviews from you, Hunt, for watching these Disney movies.
Well, you're getting one right now. We've watched 2.
Okay, next one, The Lion King. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. It's good. I remembered the plot of The Lion King. I remembered that one a little bit better. But it is good. It's a little interesting to me that his favorite 2 movies that he's watched, The Land Before Time and Lion King, both so directly take on death.
They do.
It's
a very main point of the story.
Simba needs to chill out getting his dad got in the stampede. But shout out to Timon and Pumbaa. Big time by Pumbaa to take care of the hyenas. It was a big move by him there. But yeah, I thought that held up too. I thought it was good. I have no idea really the plot of Beauty and the Beast, except for the fact that I kind of have a general, but what happens. So we're gonna have to do that one. I don't know anything about Sleeping Beauty.
Got the Jungle Book on the docket. That's a really good one.
We can get to that too. He'll like Jungle Book.
He will.
He likes animals a lot. But he's watched Lion King and Little Mermaid, and he very much prefers Little Mermaid.
Interesting. You would not expect that from a boy.
Yeah, here he is.
You never know.
He's into it.
All right, next one here. An NFL team has submitted a proposal to have the league ban the Eagles' tush-push play for executive Troy Vincent. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it. I don't like the play. I don't. That's not what we made this sport for. That looks more like rugby to me. I think it's a dumb rule that you can push your own teammate. That would be so. It was outlawed forever. I don't know why we didn't. I find it to be. It's not what we're trying to accomplish in the sport when you've got a 330-pound offensive guard moving a running back forward. That's tough for the defense to deal with.
Yeah,
trying to tackle 2 guys.
My only thing
just
is
outlaw it.
Yeah. I understand the point. My thing is, if this play was so undefendable, then why isn't every team running it?
Well, because you have to get into that spot, but I guess you do get into that spot a lot.
Teams get into that spot plenty of times.
Yeah.
I just don't understand, because if it was a league-wide problem where every team is doing this every time they have 4th and inches or 4th and 1, I can understand that. But the Eagles are really the only. I mean, some other teams do it a little bit, but they're the only team that does it consistently.
I'm curious, if I'm a Saints fan, and this is 9 years ago, I don't want Drew Brees doing that 4 times a game.
No, but you could put Taysom in there to do, or put it in the backup. You have somebody else designated to do it if you wanted to.
It's a reasonable point, I guess. I just I would outlaw the ability to move your player forward in football. It was outlawed forever, and I don't know why we switched it.
Yeah.
But
no.
you see that all the time now.
Yeah, my thing is, my thing would just be, if this is a thing where the whole league is doing it and it's a problem, I can understand. But it's for some reason only the Eagles do it. So maybe they just have it figured out perfectly. I don't know.
They won the Super Bowl.
They
so
did.
They're doing some things right.
They're doing something right.
Saints got their coach, baby. Let's go.
They got him. All right, last one. The Scotty Scheffler arrest will be featured in the Netflix series Full Swing's third season. We'll get answers on what really happened. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it because if that footage was there, we'd have it by now.
Yeah.
I watched the teaser that had all the interviews of Damon and of Scheffler and who else they interviewed about it? Tom Kim.
Yeah, I was going to say, and then who was the guy that just had to be showing up and videoed it? I think it was a media guy.
Yeah, it was. It was the guy.
I can't remember his name. I can't remember who it was.
I can see his face, but
Jeff
I can't.
Darlington.
That's
there you
who
go.
It was, yeah. So yeah, I mean, they may have some footage, but you're not gonna see Scheffler driving with the guy latched to his car. That was so weird. Scheffler talks about it in the thing I didn't watch season 2 of Full Swing. I probably should have.
I haven't either. No, I might need to binge watch both of them.
I'll watch this one. Alyssa's deep into Ozark these days, which I've already seen.
Good show.
So I go in there and pop in every once in a while and just check out a little bit of it. My dad just finished Breaking Bad in 8 days.
Oh, he's retired.
Retirement. You just do whatever you want. Yeah, I'm jealous of those. We're on White Lotus now every Sunday.
Oh yeah, good show.
Watched episode 2 last night. Some weird characters.
Haven't started it yet.
There's only 2. Just knock them out. There's some weird folks.
There's always weird people. I mean, in the last other seasons, there's just weird people.
It's weird folks. So we'll see how that goes. But that's it for Take It or Leave It. And that's really it for the Hunt Palmer Show here on this Monday. We're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can always find us. Matt is about to drive you home on After Further Review. We'll be back tomorrow, same time and same place for a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're right here on the capital city's leader in sports talk, 1045 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040